Hi everyone, we're going to get into our first project for creating for this class. And what we're going to start off with is doing a third person. And we're going to do kind of a capture the flag type game. So this is basically just to help you start to get in and navigating around and finding the different aspects and making sure that you could create some of the simple things in here. So the first thing you're going to do is you should be on this screen where when Unreal comes up, and I want to go over a couple of things that you should be paying attention to in this. The first one is where you're going to see we have these different templates, and you could pick any of these templates, and you'll see over here there's a description of the templates and what's going on in them. And so we're going to pick third person. You could pick any of the ones that you wanted, but for my purpose for this class and this first assignment, we're going to do third person. And then you're going to see over here that there's some information about the program that you're going to see. One of them is target platform. We're going to keep it as a desktop option. I think you have desktop and mobile for the purposes of this class. We're going to be doing desktop games. The quality preset, you could have it be maximum or scalability. For the most part, we're going to actually use maximum. And we're going to have it checked for starter content. And down here at the bottom is two important parts. One is the project location. Now, if you are using a school computer, you are welcome to have it saved on the school's computer, but you need to make sure you back it up when you're done with it. And the thing about the school computers is, for one, you could have a computer crash. Two, the computers can just wipe stuff because, you know, they're not under our control. Things happen all the time. Three, somebody else is going to get on your computer at some other point during the day. So that's the thing. So check to see where it is. Another thing you want to do is make sure that you actually have disk space available. And if you don't know if you have disk space available, these things take quite a bit of disk space for each game that we make. So just be aware of that. And then over here, we're going to do the project name. And for the purposes of this class, we're going to call it P1 and underscore, and you're going to put your username. So what I mean by your username is your email address. The first part before the @ symbol, that is your username. So like for my instance, I'm Goodrow J. A lot of you will probably be your last name, your first initial. You might also have some numbers that are associated with it, so I want the full thing in here. You will get points docked if you do not have your full name in this situation. The reason why, right, is our naming conventions are important for how we store files, save files, and exchange files in any environment that you're going to work in. So I'm just trying to get you in the habit of whatever the naming convention is for the place you're going to be at is what you're going to need to follow. So this is my naming convention. I download everybody's documents into one space, and I need them all to be consistent for me to easily make sure that I'm putting the right grade with the right person. So you're going to do this, and you're going to hit create to. So this will create your project, and it'll create all the files that you need for this project. Note that this can take a while. So you can see right here, it's 41% compiling shaders. So this is just a time when you get up and go get a drink or whatever, come back and wait for it. So I will pause while we wait for it to finish. So mine finally finished. It did take a while. Now what I'm going to do, this is for my main thing of how I'm going to be showing you guys, but you guys might also like this if you're working on screens that are smaller. I'm going to go over to Tools, Debug, and Widget Reflector. So it's again Tools, Debug, and Widget Reflector. And what this is just going to give me an option for application scale. And like the scale is, it's really small, right? And I want you guys to be able to see this, and I want to be able to see this. And I know part of it is I have old eyes, but other parts is that it just can be really tiny writing. So all that did was change the scale. The other thing you'll notice, I have scalability set to low here. If you do not have scalability set to low, I highly suggest you set it to low. If it's on any of these higher values, you might have issues if you do not have a very powerful machine, especially if you're working on a laptop. My suggestion is to click on the scalability and change it all to low. It should help with your visibility. So now we're in our project, right? And the first thing we're going to do in our project is create a folder to save all of our stuff. So we're going to click over here on Content Drawer. Content Drawer, right, is where we're going to, sorry that it's there. It's a browser for getting all of our data, right? All of the stuff that is for our project is going to be stored in this Content Drawer. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click on content and we're going to say new folder, and we're going to call it your first name. This is just so that I can see that each person is creating their own folder and not just copying my videos, and so that I can, and when I go and eventually look at your data, that I can easily go find it all and it's all in one spot, right? So one of the things that you can do in this window is if you want to, you can dock it. What docking is right, basically is just adding it to the screen. I personally don't want it docked because I'll show you what happens. So you'll see I hit the dock button and you can see it's kind of like down here and it looks like I have two content drawers. And that's because it's actually down here, but the tab is a little short. So what you want to do is, like you see here, I have a crosshairs mouse cursor. And then when I'm down here, it's just a mouse cursor. And if I hover over, you see how I have it has like two little arrows pointing up and down. If I click and drag that up, I can make my window bigger. And so what you can see it does is it shrinks my window that I have for displaying. So I don't really want to do that. So I'm just going to hit this little button and say close the tab. And then we're in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on our content drawer and our thing. And we're going to create a new widget. So we're going to create a new blueprint, not a widget first. First, we're going to create the flag. We're going to click on blueprint class. And we're going to create a new actor. So, right, actors is basically any object that's going to be in our thing is going to be called an actor, right? And it's any object that can be placed or spawned in the world. So it's what we're going to do is create one, and we're going to call it BP, and this is going to be our flag. And we're going to double click this, and when I double click it, you're going to notice that maybe that it pops up a window that is not seeming to come on. Oh, there it is. That's why. It is this little tiny window. So we're going to make that bigger. You're going to see that it created a whole separate window for me, right, with it. And it was really small, so that's why I couldn't tell that that's where it was. And some of the things that I'm going to do to make this a little bit better for me is I'm going to close this, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to Edit, Editor Preferences. And I'm going to update where my objects open when I edit them. So you come down here and it says Asset, Editor, Open Location, and it says Default. What I'm going to do is have it open up in the main window. This just means that, so the default, right, is a new window. And what I like having it do is open up in the main window so then I don't lose the windows, because I have a tendency to have windows disappear on me on the screen. So I like having them all in one place so that I can easily find them. So that's what we're going to do. So now I'm going to close the preferences. And here, let me open that again. Edit to preferences. right? And so I just hit the close button. That's all you have to do. And it should open it here. And so now when I go to content drawer and I double click my flag, it should open it up in as a new window here. You're going to also notice that it looks slightly different than if I opened it up new. And so I'm going to just, you'll see here it says, this data only blueprint, there's no default values shown, it does not have a script or variables. You want to add some, say open in full blueprint editor, so that's what we're going to do. And now it gets to be more of like a window that we had when we first opened it. So it's a little overwhelming, all the stuff that's on the screen right now. If you go and look in the viewport, this is what the object's going to look like, and that's where we're going to see the visual aid of it. And in the event graph, this is going to be where we put any code, any of the blueprints that we're going to create that are going to talk about the behavior of this actor that we have in our system. So the first thing we want to do is we're just going to create a flag. And we're going to do that with some of the default objects that we currently have. So we're going to just go in here to our content drawer. And if we scroll down, right, we should see the starter content. If you clicked the button on the home screen, you should see the starter content. So you should have a thing in here called shapes. We're going to double click shapes, and you'll see that we have a bunch of different just regular old shapes. And that's what we're going to use to create our flags, is we can just use a couple of these. So I'm going to click and drag the cube, right? And again, you could use your mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And what I'm going to do is click on this, and as we went over in previous videos, if we're going to, right, the arrows means that it moves it, right? So that is this one where it selects and translates the object. So that's the W, it moves it. So the pointer just selects it. The little arrows, like the recycling thing, is for rotating the object, select and rotate the objects. And this third one is select and scale the object. So we want to change the scale of this object. So what we're going to do is click it, and we want to make it look into a flag, right? So I want it to be kind of tall and kind of narrow. So I'm just going to modify it so it's tall and narrow. And then I'm also going to go back to the content drawer, and I'm going to find this shape wedge. I'm going to click and drag that into the screen, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to move it around, and so you could use the right mouse key to change the angle and view of your screen. The left kind of does the same thing, but it doesn't go up and down as well as the right. The right, you can kind of go 360, whereas the left just kind of goes left and right. It doesn't go up it. And you kind of zoom in and zoom out. So the thing about this is kind of one of the fun parts, right, is that we're working in 3D. So some of the skills that I suggest, like this is just going to take practice and stuff, is using the F key, F as in Frank. What it does is it sets focus whatever you have selected. So if I take an object and I hit F, it basically puts me back into seeing it in its perspective. And then being able to use that to kind of go through and try to make it so that the objects are kind of touching and kind of look like a flag, right? And if you use the Alt key, that will help you also kind of rotate around. And so, right, so you're basically going to have to try to look at these objects from 365, right, to go through and modify it so that the object actually looks like it's actually touching and doing everything you want it to do. And so that it looks kind of like a flag. Now, my flag kind of looks fat, right? So maybe we'll want to, you know, select this object, right? And we could put it back to the scalability, and I could kind of make it a little narrower so it now looks more like an actual pole instead of, a plank or something. And so that could kind of be a flag, right? And we could do something like this where we could go through and look down here at the static mesh, and we could pick one of these, maybe. Alright, I changed my scaling so maybe it's a little easier to see. So now, alright, you can see here I have the pole, right? And you can tell up here the static on the right hand side, right? We should see the details. And we can see here it says static mesh. And that the static mesh is basically the layer of the cube and like how it's built. And then you go down to the materials. And you can see here, right, if we click on the basic wall, you could come and pick different meshes or different, materials that are going to be covering it. So I like this blue, so I can make it a blue, but it's wood, so we probably want it to be kind of woody, so that says rust. So we could type in here wood and see if we have any wood. Oh, look, we have a couple woods. So oak, I like oak. Let's pick oak. And then the flag, I want it to be, I can do the same thing with it, select it and come over here and go materials. And I doubt it'll have any purple, but we can see. Yeah, no purple. So pink, no pink, how about blue? Blue. So we'll go with solid blue. So that's what I'll make my flag, is a solid blue flag, right? And so now we can see that. You'll notice up here it says there's a little question mark with the compile. So what that is just saying that we've changed things and it wants to check to see if there is something wrong with it. You'll notice a couple things I want to show. One is right up here with the flag. It has an asterisk on it. That means that it's not currently saved. And then this compile means that it's not compiled. So what compile is, it's taking all the code and everything that is used to build this item and making sure it all works together and all works correctly. And so it doesn't know right now. Something's changed and it hasn't compiled yet. So we're going to hit the compile button, and you'll see down here with the results, it tells us if it was successful or not. So you're going to see that it was successful, and it tells you where the stuff is saved, right? So this is P flag. And you'll see that it still says asterisk. There's a couple ways to save. Down here in the bottom left-hand corner, or bottom right-hand corner, sorry, my other left, you'll see that it says there is currently one asset that is unsaved in this project. So if we hit this, it'll pop up a window and say that we can save it. And so we can say save selected. And so now you'll see that it says all saved. And you could also come up here and just do a save all. Either one of these will work and make it so that it's saved. So now if we come back to our third person map, that is the main map right where our item is. And if we come to our content drawer and we go back up to our directory, we should now see that we have a flag in our directory, and we should be able to pull this out and put it into our environment. And if I hit play, you should be able to see that flag, right? Now if I come over here and run into that flag, like right, it's solid wood. I can't, you can see it's all there, my blue flag. And we're great, right? And I hit escape to get out of that. So you can see it made it into the environment. Everything looks good. We're solid. Now we need to do one of the next parts, which is creating a collision with the item. So to create the collision, we're going to go back into the BP flag in the edit mode, right? And you should see up here on the top left-hand side, hopefully you still have components on this side. And this tells you like this is the two shapes we added, right? We added a cube and we added a wedge. So now we're going to add another component to our thing, which this component is going to be a collision. So we're going to come up here to add, and we're going to type in collision. So what a collision is basically what it kind of sounds like. It's an item that we're going to add that will be able to sense when one actor collides with another actor, right? Because our character is an actor and then this item is an actor. So if they collide, that's it's going to be in this. So we're just going to create a box collision because that kind of makes the most sense. You'll see we get the same kind of controls on it that we get on the other actors and stuff, and the widgets and everything. And so we can just call this the collision. And what we're going to do is scale it so that it matches the scale of our item. We might make it a little bit bigger so that we don't have to like write it, excuse me, run up right next to it. We're going to move it so it just kind of is right in the environment. Maybe not quite the, yeah, that probably will work. And basically, right, so this is just going to be the area around the item that when we go into, when our third person character runs into it, it's going to create an event. So like an event is something that happens that we can, like gets triggered that we can do something, right? So we're going to do that. And then what we're going to want to do is have something happen when we do that. Again, we're going to see, we see the compile. My suggestion is go and compile often. Anytime you see it, you've changed something, you added something, compile it. Make sure it still works. If you see that you're not saved, hit the save button. See, I have two things that aren't saved now. I have the PP flag and I also have a new item. So we're going to just make sure both of them are saved. It's just always good practice. Save early and often, compile early and often. So now we're going to add an event for this item. So we have our collision and we need to have an event so that when it sets off, it'll do something. So I click on collision, right? And what I'm going to do is on the right hand side here, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And you're going to see there's events listed here. These are different events that you could have happen, that you could create something to be triggered when that happens. And what we're going to do is on component begin overlap, and we're going to hit, you'll see that basically it says event called when something starts to overlap this component. For example, a player walking into a trigger for the events of this object have a blocking collision, for example a player hitting a wall. So we're going to say component begin overlap, right? We gave it a little bit of space around it so that they could actually overlap both things. And you'll see it comes up with the red box, right? So red is an event that is happening, and that means that like if we hover over it, it gives us the same verbiage. But basically, right, it's something is happening. And you can see here we're going to have this execute something, and we're going to click and drag from this, right? And we're going to have, when it overlaps, we're going to have it do something. What I always like to have it initially do is print string. This is mainly just for me so that I could go, did I do what I think I needed to do? And I test as I go. I always get nervous about like trying to like get everything done and then try to figure out where it broke along the way. I like to do little pieces, test, little pieces, test. So I'm going to compile. So all I did is have, it's going to say hello. It's going to print out the string hello. And I'm going to save. And now I'm going to go into the third person and I'm going to play. And what the hope is when I run into this pole, that it should have a pop-up window that says hello. And you'll see in the top left-hand corner, it said hello. Again, so I'm going to run into it, top left-hand corner, it's a little blue hello. It's pretty small, and but you can see that. So it's working, right? If you want to make it last a little longer, you can change the duration. So you just click the down arrow, and so we'll put it to 10 seconds so it doesn't disappear so fast. Compile, and we'll hit play. And now when I run into it, right, it lasts for a little longer. So you can see in the top left-hand corner, it says hello, and it lasts for a little longer, the whole 10 seconds instead of just the 2 seconds, and it should eventually go away. So that's our first step done. So, but what we want it to do, right, is not just print the hello. We want it to, like, you captured the flag, you win. So what we're going to do is go in and go to the content drawer and back into our folder, and we're going to create a new widget for this. And so that's what, so having it have a pop-up of whatever, that's going to be called a widget. And we're going to right click, scroll down. We want user interface and widget blueprint. So right, this says the widget blueprint enables extending the user widget. And we want the user, and we're just going to call this win widget. And we're going to double click on this, and it should open it up into our editing. And so you see we kind of have a very similar template to the blueprint one, right? Slightly different. And what we need to do first is create a canvas on where we're going to have the display that we want. So the first thing we have to look for over here on the left hand side, you'll see it says palette. Under palette, we were going to look for canvas. So you'll see canvas panel, and we click and drag that in, and that gives us a rectangle for what it's going to display on the screen. And so basically everything we want to print is just going to be here in this widget. And the next thing we want to do is we want to add some text. This is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to have a text pop up, and we want to scale it. So right, you could click and drag to scale. You'll notice that there's this big flower. That's just what this is telling you the anchor of where it is going to be displaying on our screen. And in the box is where you're going to see that it's going to actually have the words that we're going to have. And on the right hand side where the details are, it's going to tell us the details of what is in the box and what's going to be displayed. So it has the text, right? So you can see it says text block. If I want to change it, so I could just say you win, exclamation point. And when I click out of it, you'll see it updates my screen here. If you look at this, you have all these different options for changing it. We're going to keep it fairly simple. The first one we want to do is change the color. Purple's my favorite color, so I always change everything to purple. My suggestion is you guys pick a color that you like and make it that. You don't always have to choose what I choose. You choose what you like. My main thing with, like, when I grade things is that you get the components and you do the things. If you do them slightly different, I'm okay with that because some of this is artistry. My intent is that you get the elements and you get the things that you're doing, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be identical to what I'm doing, but if I create a widget, you create a widget. If I create a flag or something, you create something that, like, is a similar item or whatever, that you're putting multiple items together or whatever. So my idea is it doesn't have to match mine identically. It can be different colors, it can be different shapes and different sizes, different, you know. But what I want to do is, the next thing I want to change is the font. So you can see it says it's size 24. There's two ways you could do this. I can either use, like, I can just come in here and change the value. So like I could put 75, or you could also, you'll see that there's like a little bar here. If you want to, you could just click and drag that little bar and make it whatever size you want. So that looks more like the kind of size I want. So now I'm just going to go in and change the green box to include that. And right, I'm going to make it be like kind of fit the screen, and you can kind of, I can make it a little bit bigger so it completely fills the screen. It's up to you how exactly it looks on the screen to you, what aesthetics you want it to display. I want to be able to see it. So, and I want to save it. So now, right, look, I have two unsaved things. Select save. I need to compile. I'm going to hit compile. And so now I'm going to go back to BP flag. And so now I have it right now that it's just when the component collides with the user or with the actor or character, third person character, it displays the screen right now. What we want to do is add a new um, thing that it's going to do. Now, I'm going to leave the print string right in for the time being. If you wanted to, you could remove it because we know that part works, right? So what we're going to do is click out from execute, and it should come up with executable actions. And the action we want is we're going to cast this to the third person character. So I'm just going to type in third because I know that that's going to bring up what I want. So you can see cast to blueprint third person character. And so that is doing it for this. So basically we're going to have our little widget pop up for the third person character, the item that because we ran into him, right? And if you want, you can use the middle mouse button to scroll in and out. You could use the right mouse button to click and drag. And we're going to drag it so we have our component beginning overlap. It prints the string hello, and now we're going to cast it to the third person. And what we need to do is add that object, that widget we created. We need to add it to the character. So we're going to have another executable action, and we're going to, first we have to create the widget. So we're going to just create widget is what you want to look for. And you'll see here we have construct and it says none. And we're going to click on class here and we're going to say widget. And so you can see we have win widget here, and that's what we want. So it's going to create the win widget widget. And right, so left, incoming from left is like basically where we're following it, and we're going out to the right. So we need, you'll see it tells we have a return value and another execute. So we're going to click from the execute, and we've created the widget, but now we have to actually view it. So we're going to add it to the viewport. So add to, so in the search engine, we're going to say add to viewport. And the target is itself, so we're going to just have these values, the return value, go to the target. And I did miss one. I forgot that up here what we need to do is on the component, we need to collect other object. So, and that is going to go to the object character. So it's basically, right, these are all outputs from it. We don't have to match all of the outputs to something. But what we needed, right, this needs an object that it's coming from. So it's coming from the actor into here. And so you can see we're going to have a compile. We check to see, look at that, yay, our flag successfully compiled. We haven't saved. We're going to save selected items, and then we're going to test. And so now, fingers crossed, when I go and hit this, instead of just getting the hello, I should have a pop-up window of my widget. And look at that, I have you win for the widget, right? You notice I can keep running around and doing things, and which is not really appropriate for what we're doing. So we want to add another feature for this. So we're going to go back to editing our flag, use the right mouse to scroll to the end, and we're going to add another execute thing. And so what we're going to do is say pause game. So this is a flag that is set. So you see it's an F for a function. So what we're going to do is click on here, and you'll see it says it's a Boolean. What a Boolean means, it's either true or false. And so it's saying whether the game should be paused or not. So if it's unchecked, that says it's not paused. And so if you want it to be paused, then you hit the little checkbox and then it should pause the game. So again, compile and save, just because that's always smart. Go back to third person, hit play again and test it. And we come in and hit it and say, look at that, you win, and it pauses the game and it ends. So now that's not much of a game, right? There needs to be some kind of puzzle environment involved in this. What I'm going to do for a puzzle is I'm going to make it a jumping puzzle. So I'm just gonna click this and drag it over here and put it on the wall here. Right, so it's gonna be kind of a puzzle slash um, like jumping game and wall walking game. And so what we can do is we can play with our environment. You can click on different things in our environment and make them grow, like the scalability and stuff. So I'm just going to come and it's not going to be a hard puzzle that I'm going to make. I'm going to make these bigger so that they have something to jump on. And just to make my life a little easier, make it so that he doesn't have to go like all around. You can easily get to this. And it's probably still too far for him to jump, so we will make it that way. All right. So now, if we come here and do this, right? So I can either jump this way, or from down here, I can jump up here and up here. Oop, that's a little too high, huh? A little too high. So I can modify it a little bit. So I can fit it, and we can twist it again. One of the things that you can do for, I'm going to stop this, is if you wanted to make your life a little easier, you can, like I can come and hit F for this. Right, F brings us to the screen, and I can have my guy, I right click and I go play from here. So I had to scroll down. I was like looking for it. I'm like, I couldn't see the words, and it's because I have it zoomed so much. So I play from here, and look at that. It just plays my character on this. So then I can easily come and test if can I jump up here. I can easily jump up here, and then I got over here. And I can run over to my flag, and now when I hit my flag, it says you win. So that is your first game. It is a very simple game, and you could do a lot to play with it and make it your own. You could make a maze if you want to. You could add things to it. You can have it be a little more tricky, have there be more jumping things involved. This was just me trying to show you a basic thing that you can do for it. And so I hope you enjoyed that and have a wonderful day.